Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. HarlequinCoHO here, and I have another nice little Newbie Tuesday replay for you. As you can tell, this is the new map Beach Assault, which is the 1 versus 1 map that's themed like Normandy. I know the jury is kind of still out on this map. A lot of people have varied opinions about it, but it's a new map, and I kind of want to give it its fair share of replay commentary coverage. So let's go ahead and get this replay started and take a look at our players for today. So over here on the right-hand side of the map, we have TommyB, who is going to be a terror commander, and let's take a look at his abilities here. And oh, if you just caught that while that building was going up, you could see in its little kind of ghost outline that there was a machine gunner, and plus we have this indicator of the field of fire around it, so he has that army item. Meanwhile, this he has got Propaganda, V1 Rocket, Firestorm Rocket Barrage, and King Tiger. Now, that's an awful lot of kind of late game abilities to be using. Propaganda is fantastic. I have no problem with that. But, you know, Propaganda or Inspired Zeal early game could be very useful. But V1 and King Tiger and Firestorm Rocket Barrage is great. But kind of V1, I don't know. For all I know, this guy plays a ton of like 3 versus 3 or 4 versus 4 games where those go very long and you have a lot of munitions and can do that, and that's a great ability. But in 1 versus 1, I would say, honestly, get something like even just a Terror Officer or something. Get some little interesting ability there instead. However, let's take a look at his opponent over here on the right-hand side of the map. We have TheLegacy. TheLegacy is an airborne commander. He has airdropped supply drops. I hate the redundancy of that name. Airdropped smoke, airborne paradrops. God, everything has air and drop in it. That's so, okay. Airborne paradrops, airdropped AT support, and airdropped bombing run drops. A bunch of interesting abilities there, but the one glaring error, as far as I can tell, is that TheLegacy has completely missed out on his observation plane. That's really, as far as I'm concerned, absolute must-have for all airborne commanders. The ability to see parts of the map for free. The information is so useful. So I really think that any one of these 3 abilities here at the end could be lost. I love smoke. I love airdrop supply drops, even though I hate the name. But you know, either get rid of paradroppers or get rid of paradroppers. He's gonna forever stumble me on that. But either get rid of one of these abilities and grab observation plane, because it is such an awesome ability, especially when you level it up to be free. So looks like TommyB went ahead and grabbed his close combat Volks Grenadiers right off the bat. These guys are pretty cool, and I've honestly always wanted to see them kind of run down these little trenches, gunning away at people, because they are so good in close quarters, and the fact that they can kind of approach a target without taking too much fire in these circumstances makes them pretty good. First criticism here is that all players are kind of really all over the place. It looks like TommyB kind of managed to kind of coalesce his land captures into the same places. You can see that he is grabbing both of these key points. Each one of these zones, if you haven't seen any of my earlier replays on this map, divides up the map very obviously and isolates these fuel points. So you can see that it looks like TheLegacy here has got great control over the top, but it's completely disconnected until he owns this position again. So a little bit of investigations going on here. And oh my god, Pioneers, look out. This zone right here is like the zone of do not go past it. In case you haven't been familiar with this map yet, as soon as you get past this little area here, you're going to start taking fire from these bunkers. So hopefully that's going to not get too bad for him. Looks like the machine gun was set up a little bit too close to those riflemen. Got picked off a bit, but we do have the close combat folks kind of firing away here. And you can see that they're trying to crawl away, but honestly crawling in the wrong direction. I think he probably just forgot about them. He probably clicked them on this fuel point. And you can see now overlapping fields of fire. And oh, he loses his initial... his little initial Pioneers there, so that's not good. Be very, very aware of that. It's very tempting to keep pressing up this area here, but just remember, don't go past this little wall here. You'll get shot by that emplacement there. So close combat folks, this is what I want to see. I want to see them sneak around the side here, get in nice and tight with these riflemen. The riflemen are trying to keep their distance. Always a good idea. It is true that riflemen have increased accuracy at close range as well, or just increased damage, but close combat folks will just destroy you. I mean, even just a plain old rifleman, you can see they have the 30% sight range increase, which is a awesome army item. But other than that, these guys are going to do so much damage. Oh, and now for the Newbie Tuesday lesson, retreat. Yes, definitely retreat. No, waited just a little too long. Lost the entire rifleman squad. That's probably the worst thing you can do early game in these games, is losing entire squads. God, just be really careful about that. So kind of the next thing I want to focus on this map while this action is going on. By the way, check this out. These guys are actually shooting down here. Let's see if they're going to be able to get anybody. I don't know who got the kill there. One of these guys. I think this Pioneer's got the kill. It's hard to tell if if the shots are actually going through because they're bouncing off so much on the rocks and that sort of thing. But the Gladiator Rifleman now moving out. They do have a fire-up ability for 5 munitions. If he's really gutsy, he could definitely use that, but it looks like the machine gun team was repositioning, so they got unsuppressed. And now we have a tiny little flank here by the engineers. You'd be surprised how much damage these rear machine gunner guys can do. They really do a ton of damage, as you can see, just kind of gunning down these engineers mercilessly. Gladiator Rifleman, though, got some pretty good cover. They can probably just focus fire that down. I bet they'll have enough to take them out, even though the engineers are taking some serious casualties. Dropping some smoke. There's some smoke. Smoke, by the way, depending on how you level it, just by itself, it reduces the... I guess it reduces the accuracy of the people who are either firing through it or firing into it. But at later levels, if you spend points, it can also slow units down who are in it, enemy units, and remove their cover, which is pretty useful. So kind of what I want to focus on now is fuel, and just kind of how to get an idea where your opponent is with fuel. So let's take a look right now. The Legacy is at 57 fuel. And if you were going for a fast M8, which is the M8 Greyhound, that is a standard kind of build. I don't necessarily see airborne players use it, but if you're going for the kind of fastest M8 you can get, right around 60 fuel. I mean, it only costs 50 fuel to get the supply yard up, but right around 50 fuel, 60 fuel, something like that, because you want to have enough to build the motor pool as soon as you're done building the supply yard. But as soon as you get around 50, 60, 65 fuel, you want to start building your supply yard right away. So either the Legacy is not going for a fast M8, or he's thinking of something else. Now, he has 60 fuel, so if he was going to go for a Browning automatic rifle upgrade, he would start that now. That is 60 fuel as well. But something to note as an Axis player is keep this stuff in mind. Look for the tells as to what your opponent is planning on doing with his fuel. The biggest tell you can possibly see is right around now. Note we're about 6 minutes into the game. Right around now, if you see Browning automatic rifles on regular riflemen, granted there are none here, and he's doing this nice little skirmishing right now with the Volksgrenadiers, but he really has to get out of here. There are just too many targets for him to do any damage to. If you see Browning automatic rifles, and it looks like we have Browning automatic rifles being researched right now, that's a real tell that you're not going to see Greyhounds anytime soon. Pretty much if you go for the fastest Greyhound you possibly can get, i.e. spend 50 fuel on a supply depot, 45 fuel on a motor pool, and then the next 35 fuel getting your first Greyhound out, usually by then you'll have 100 munitions, so you can upgrade both the skirts and the machine gun on it. If you do that, you need to rush. If you see them doing that, you need to rush as fast as you can to get your Krieg barracks up. So make sure you upgrade your headquarters to the first level so you can get your Krieg barracks, and then try and get one AT gun out, and you're usually good to go with that. Again, fighting over this really key important point here. But note, he has just seen that there are Browning automatic rifles out there for the Legacy. So, what does that tell him? It tells him that for the most part, his opponent is not getting a fast M8. Now, I don't know if he's read into this correctly or not, but there's a few things you can do at that point, because that means that you'll probably have Pumas out faster than he will have M8s out. And that could be a significant early game advantage if you identify it correctly. So you can see he's got, it looks like whenever you see a mortar and a heavy machine gun team for an airborne player, it definitely means that he dropped in those dropped drops, and took advantage of the extra ordnance that was there. Those come in with a bunch of, depending on how you level it, fuel and munitions, but as well as healing and a few, a machine gun and a mortar team. So dropping a little bit of smoke there. Not sure that helps him too much. I guess you kind of want to put the smoke between you and your enemy instead of right on top of them, but I don't know. We'll see how that works. I'm not an expert at the intricacies of dropping smoke on things. I don't really play airborne commanders that often, but I do read up on all of their abilities. So in general, I see being used either. The most aggressive I ever see smoke is when you upgrade it so that it has, I believe it's called disorientation, is the ability that allows it to slow down units and eventually remove their cover. That's brutal. Then you want to drop it right on them so they have no cover. So anyhow, it looks like just continually pumping out riflemen here for the airborne commander. And let's take a look. We do see a Kampfkraft Center going up for TommyB. That's interesting. He only has, for the most part, let me take a look. I'm pretty sure he primarily has Volksgrenadiers on the field right now. Yes, he does. He has 2 squads of Volksgrenadiers with the MP40 upgrades. You can see they have a 10% reduced reinforcement cost. Nothing too fancy there. But it does look like TommyB has got nice control of the map. You can see he's been pretty vigilant about taking the bottom area. And note, by the way, that the 2 bottom fuel points are medium, whereas the 2 top fuel points are low. So TommyB's fuel input at the moment is 43, whereas the Legacy has got 32. So even though they have the same number of fuel points, he definitely has a lot more fuel as a result of the fact. And this is kind of cute here. These guys are painting themselves into a corner. So you've got these two flamethrower pioneers who are just kind of going to wall themselves off here and not let this be captured. They're not going to fight, they're just going to hang out. So hopefully these engineers are going to try and cut their way through, but it doesn't matter because it looks like the close combat Volksgrenadiers are here to clean up. Luckily they're in fairly open cover so that fire isn't going to do horrific damage to them, and now it looks like the Pioneers are getting in on the action as well. These Pioneers, by the way, 5 kills, not doing too bad at all. And now going to lay some landmines here, so just going to make this place really uncomfortable for anybody who comes out. And, oh, this is exactly what I wanted to see. So during my Jibba Jabba, it looked like the Sturm Armory went up for TommyB. TommyB hopefully will start spending some of this money on that, but he does not quite have enough fuel at the moment. As soon as he gets enough fuel, though, hopefully he will put out a Puma. Because right now an early game Puma could be fantastic. Now, airborne commanders do have the option of dropping in AT. And but let's take a look at the levels on that. So he is level 2 right now. Airdropped AT support is level 4. So at this point in the game, not really an option, although I don't know that TommyB has any way to be sure of that. However, I do want to see a Puma out here right now. I just want to see a Puma. Give me a Puma. And note, by the way, that, sorry, I'm jumping the map around all the time, but again, I'm kind of focusing on fuel this time around because fuel is so important on this map. Notice, by the way, that the Legacy does have 55 fuel up, and he's still yet to build anything. So it's important to just kind of keep track of your fuel. That's like your look at that, he cut his way out. That's what happened there. He cut his way out so he could get back home.